What's up, you guys? America, and welcome back to my channel. No, you grow up. So I'm back for round number 2 of my figure openings, and as you can see, a lot more figures from Haulathon here. So my first opening video, I was really excited to open up Rex and Usagi. The accessory pack had some cool stuff, but honestly, reviewing figures is just a lot more fun than accessories. I'm not even going to really go over accessories with these guys. We're just going to look at the figures and the accessories that I put in their hands at the time, and I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm terrible at reviews. They're not something that I even like to do. I just like to talk about figures. It's going to be very few and far between that I actually do legitimate figure reviews. The real thesis of my channel has just always been talking about the things I like and why I like them. And again, there's plenty of bigger and better channels where you can get actually good reviews at, so go check them out. But it's just not really what I want to do. I just want to talk about the stuff I like, so we're going to start talking about these figures. Alright, so I've got everything opened up. And as a whole, this was a very good opening. I'm very happy with all these figures, and a figure like Chakahachi is like an F tier character for me, and he's still an awesome figure. So we'll talk about everybody individually, but just some more of my kind of overall thoughts. So the line is in a very weird place right now. So getting into these deeper cut characters, and again, what is a deep cut kind of varies for some people. Some people say we've been in the deep cuts for a while, but for me, it's kind of reaching that point now. Chakahachi was a character I didn't even know about until I was older and actually watched through the entire series, and same with Dirk Savage. But I feel like the Dirk Savage episode is a lot more infamous because it has a lot of other side characters, mainly Toka and Razar both making appearances as well. And I've said this before, I never even knew they made an appearance in the animated series until I was an adult either. But the newer figures as a whole, their paint, their sculpts, they're just so much better than the old ones. And so now all the characters that we wanted are eventually going to look a little bit outdated next to these newer figures that we don't actually care as much about, so it's kind of weird. So I for one am hoping that they do kind of run it back with everything. I would buy a second version. I know not everybody would, but eventually they're going to run out of characters anyway, and I know we still have a lot more to go, like all the gangsters and stuff like that. I still really want Tempestra. I really want Maestro and his goons. There's definitely more figures that I want, but I'd like to see some of the older figures start getting updated, mainly starting with like Shredder and Casey and stuff like that. The one thing I will say about all these figures is their joints were incredibly tight. I was blasting these guys with a hairdryer, and some of their knees and elbows just did not want to budge. And the thing that happens with these figures, with their elbows especially, once they get too hot, the middle part almost turns a little bit like jelly, and it still just won't move around the pins. But again, that's why I don't really overpose my NECA figures. Ones that are made to articulate a little bit better, I do. And I know some people are wizards. Some people are great at manipulating these figures. Some people can get them into great positions. But I would just always rather play it safe. And again, I have a very good track record with not breaking any figures, and I'd like to keep that going. So we'll start making our way through these characters one by one. And like I said in the intro, I'm not going to go over accessories because honestly, it's fucking boring to me. I don't like talking about accessories. This is more so what I'm going to be doing with figures, unless it's something that I'm very excited about. The only thing I see like that on the horizon is the glow-in-the-dark Slash, and I probably will give him an individual video. But I'd rather just open up a bunch of figures at once because that's how I naturally do things anyway, and then find out how to work them all into my collection, so that way I'm not just doing things one at a time. So again, these are just my general thoughts, my opinions, and how I feel about these figures that I've opened. So we'll take a look at Dirk first here, and he is a very good figure. Again, he's not one that I really give a shit about. I have no nostalgic connection to this guy, but as a figure, he's awesome. I know Brendan said in the most recent episode of the podcast that we did, we had talked about these figures, and he said he's based off of somebody. When I see this guy, I just think Nick Fury when I see him. I like how his weapons can hold on the back there. That's really cool. I always like being able to attach the accessories to the characters, so that's something I always appreciate. His deco is on point, and he is a very fun figure. Can't wait to get him next to Toka and Razar. It's cool that we're starting to get these deeper cuts. And even if they are figures that I just don't really have any attachment to, I'm still going to get them because it's just cool that we're building this enormous world. So next we'll take a look at Chakahachi, and I'm finally able to even start saying his name right, so that should really kind of tell you how interested in this character I am. I would say out of all the figures that just got released, he's number 2 on the ones that I care the least about. That being said, he's a pretty cool figure with one exception. So Brendan had opened all of his figures before I had, and he had a chance to look at them. And in the most recent episode of the podcast, we were talking about it, and he mentioned something about this shoulder pad here, and I also cannot figure out what the hell they were thinking with this. Like, I understand they wanted it to not be able to restrict his articulation, but it just did not work out well. Unless you have his arm positioned a very certain way, it keeps like flopping over. And the way it's attached here, it really feels like if he took one spill off the shelf, that thing's breaking right off of there. Other than that, I really like this figure. Again, another thing that Brendan said, he should definitely be a lot bigger. Being a character that I don't really have any attachment to, I don't mind that he's kind of just the size of all the other characters. He's one that I really had trouble getting to move in the knees, but the thing that I really like about him is his color scheme. I don't know why, but I really like the blues on blues or aquas or teals or whatever the hell color this is. This color combination just really works for me, and I don't know why. I really do like him as a figure. So him and Rex were the two that I definitely cared the least about, but they're definitely two of the better figures in the line. So just getting back to my point of, it's just weird we're getting to this point where we have all of these F-tier characters that we don't really care about as much, but they're pretty damn good looking figures. Yeah, so far pretty happy with both the figures I've talked about so far. Alright, so next we'll take a look at Lotus Blossom here, and she is very, very, very good for a female figure. She's probably one of the best proportioned female figures they've made so far. I feel like Irma is probably the next best next to her. But like I'll talk about with Mona Lisa in a little bit. Her and April, their dimensions just seem really weird. Their shoulders just seem kind of too small. Their torsos kind of seem too small. And with April especially, I feel like she's way shorter than she should be. But actually talking about this figure, I like her a lot. She comes with that alternate ninja head that's completely covered, but I like this one that has like her classic look. The hair's done really interesting on her, where it's all just kind of one solid piece, except for like these locks that are kind of coming off of it there. So that's kind of cool how they went about that. Her design's not super exciting. She's just kind of all gray and black, but she's done really, really, really well. And that's just kind of the theme with all these figures. There was a run there when they had like the Neutrinos and Zack, where they definitely had some issues with the deco and some of the line work was off, but all of these figures that I opened up right here look awesome as far as that's concerned. Taking a look at Mona Lisa next, she is a great looking figure, but I do have a couple issues with her. Again, her torso just definitely looks a little bit small. She's definitely put together a little bit better. Like, she has these really dainty arms, dainty shoulders. In the cartoon, she was definitely just a little bit beefier. Even just if they would have made proportioned her like they did Lotus over there. Like, I feel like her arms are just a little bit thicker, her torso's a little bit thicker, and I feel like that's what they should have done with her. Other than that, she does look pretty good. I really like her tail. I don't know why. I really like the way that articulates back there. The little handkerchief or ascot, whatever it is done pretty well. Another negative of her that kind of affects the turtles as well is their ankle rockers just suck, and it's really annoying. It'd be so much easier to get these figures to stand in the position that you want if they had better ankle rockers. So out of all the figures that I opened, I'd say I had the most issues with her, but I wouldn't really call her a bad figure. She just definitely could have been done a little bit better. Alright, so we'll kind of double up on Rhino-Man and Mighty Hog right here. These guys came out really, really, really well. And the first thing you'll notice with these guys is they're completely new sculpts. Their heads are completely different, their bodies are way different, and they're proportioned much differently than the older figures. We'll take a look and compare them to their older counterparts here in a little bit. But just taking a look at Rhino-Man, he's kind of plain. He doesn't really have the coolest design, but again, it's done really well. I'm not sure what these are on the back for. I'm not sure if it's just part of the mold. So if anybody knows, you can let me know in the comments down below. But he does look really cool, and I do like these new proportions a lot. The one issue, and again, something that Brendan had brought up to me when we talked about it in the podcast, they have a new kind of articulation for the jaw. So it articulates at the tongue instead of like the actual jaw like a normal jaw would. And so with Rocksteady here, it leaves this gap and it definitely makes it look kind of awkward. With Bebop, it's definitely not as bad. His face sculpt kind of hides it a little bit better, but still kind of an odd choice. It does get really good articulation, and the one nice thing is it does stay open that way, but I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50 on how I feel about it, and that's really my biggest complaints with these figures. Other than that, they look pretty damn good. So just comparing them to classic Rocksteady, so you can tell their head sculpts are very, very, very different. And when you look at this figure, like, yeah, that looks like Rocksteady, but when you see this one, you're like, okay, that does look much more accurate to the cartoon. And it's just crazy how much just better and more detailed the figures have gotten over the last couple of years. So as you can tell, he's just shorter, he's a little bit stockier, and yeah, I'm kind of split. I don't know how I feel about it. I like these guys being a little bit bigger. They kind of do just remind me more of like the season 1 versions where they are huge. In the first season, they're a lot bigger than the turtles are, and at one point they just palm them and like pick them up by their shells. But I do like these new molds a lot, especially the head sculpts. It is just much, much more on point. They do just look far, far more accurate. As you can tell with the bunny suit one, they still stuck with that old mold. And the bodies kind of feel similar. They both have that rubber feel to them, but the bunny suit one, they're like solid on the inside to where this guy, you can kind of push into him a little bit, and he's not quite as solid through there. So Bebop, especially in the face sculpt, like these little tufts of hair even, just give it so much more detail. The one thing I will say is I feel like the Mohawk's done a little bit better on the older sculpt. This one just looks a little bit more plain, a little bit more generic. So I feel like that's one area where the new head sculpt really isn't improved at all. Comparing them to his bunny suit version there, pretty much the same as the original mold, and I am really happy to get my third version of these guys. Alright, so just some of my final thoughts. Very, very, very happy with this opening. I had a lot more fun with this one. I really did like Rex, I really did like Usagi, but it is just a lot more fun to open up characters than it is the accessory set. As time goes on, I really do feel like the accessory set, like the hype built around it is just the lack of availability. The baby turtles are cute, Big Mac's pretty cool, and I do like the TV a lot, but these actual figures were just way more fun to open. And like I said, a couple of these are characters that I don't even care about, but they make for awesome action figures. They're just gonna add a little bit more to my display, and until we get into the Red Sky seasons, I'm just gonna ride this wagon until the wheels fall off. So thank you guys for watching, thank you guys for listening. At the time of recording this part, I am over 1,000 subscribers now, so just thank you guys so fucking much. I can't even explain to you what it means to me. It's just, I mean, I can't explain it to you. I'll definitely do a video about it here soon. I'd like to get a little bit more of a buffer before I do that in case I jinx myself and everybody decides to leave me, but we'll probably have another giveaway to go along with it, so I'm pretty excited to do that video. I just took another trip to Kokomo Toys and Collectibles, and I'm probably going to combine that video kind of all into one later this week. So for my next video in this series, I'll be back to open the last two 2-packs that I haven't opened yet, so Bebop and Rocksteady's Gang. I also have a comic book Utrom that I'm going to open, as well as the set of storage shelf figures that just got re-released. Thank you guys for watching, thank you guys for listening, thank you guys for sticking around, and just thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Again, I just can't tell you how fucking cool that is. Like, it's just, it blows my mind, and I still feel like it really hasn't even set in yet. So take it easy, be safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.